Hello, everybody. John here from Target Tours, and it's my great pleasure to welcome Jonathan Sargent from Royal Irish Tours. Hello, Jonathan.
Hello, John. Hello, everybody.
Great. Thank you for joining us today, Jonathan. And we have a couple of programs we want to present. And the first one that we are doing with Royal Irish Tours for 2027 is going to be Discover England and Wales, June 8th to 19th. Anything you can want to start to tell about that journey?
Yes, so England and Wales has become extremely popular for us and for Canadians, we have found in the last few years. So we used to have an 8-day, 7-night itinerary covering England and Wales, but that just wasn't long enough. So this
Yeah.
11-day, 10-night journey really goes in depth with 3 full days in Wales, going to six of England's heritage cities as well, and with the final 2 nights in London. So really, really nice introduction to England and Wales,
Yeah.
or for people who've been before, a nice in-depth into certain areas.
Perfect. For those who don't know about Royal Irish Tours, why don't you give us, there we go, give us some little background about who Royal Irish Tours are, because we've worked a few programs with you in the last number of years, so very successful programs.
Yeah, and it's been wonderful working with you. So Royal Irish Tours, or RIT Vacations, as we're known of as now, and we are Canada's leading tour operator to the UK and Ireland. So we have an office in Richmond Hill, Ontario. So we are a Canadian company, but our owner, Ian Duffy, is from Ireland. And we've been selling England and Wales successfully since 2010, Scotland since 2004, and Ireland since 2001. So England and Wales has really come strength to strength in recent years, and we have an office in Canada, one in Scotland, and one in Ireland. So you have people in the same time zone when you're on trips with us as well. We're 25 years in business, and coach tours really are our specialty. So we have
Yeah.
wonderful local drivers and tour managers with you for the duration of the trips as well.
And I'd have to say, Jonathan, your tour managers, I see on the right-hand side, Mary Concannon, very good tour managers and great information, and especially the Ireland tour, very very humorous. A lot of great stories. Um, and the Royal Irish difference, what do you think is out of all the operators that we can work with, why are we working with you?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, being a Canadian company and being a direct buy operator means we get really great rates with a lot of the hotels and suppliers in Ireland and the UK, having our team on the ground there working directly with them.
Yeah,
And then, we like to do longer stays. So there are some companies that do whistle stop tours of places, but we try to stay at least 2 nights in most places if it makes sense, sometimes 3 nights. And the itinerary here we're talking about, it'll be mostly 2 night stays and really does make a difference. City center locations as well. So you're right in the heart of the cities. So you're not, it doesn't say you're in Edinburgh, but you're really an hour walk into the city, and we're
yeah,
right in the heart of the city. We usually use the George Hotel, which is very centrally located and 5 to 10 minute walk to any of the major attractions. And we do lots of unique visits and have more included experiences. So again, you're not being nickel and dimed on tour. We don't do any optional excursions in the UK. So when you're on tour, the price you've paid with Target up front is the price you get. A few lunches on your own, a few evening meals, but all your breakfast, half your evening meals, and all your attraction visits, tours, walking tours, admission to all the attractions are included.
yeah. It's a good solid package. It's you can. We like the fact that you can pay one price and get all these inclusions and not have to and not come home thinking you missed seeing a lot of things. So, and as we talk about England and Wales, you mentioned about what this program offers, and we're excited to be in our first operator in our first tour that we're doing with England and Wales with you guys. So, kind of talk about some of the um, some of the benefits of this tour program that our guests are going to experience.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the history and iconic cities listed there is a big appeal of this tour. York in the background is a great example.
Yeah,
We stay very centrally located. just outside the walls. It's a very walkable city, and we're met by guide Matthew on the first day there for an in-depth tour around. You get to see York Minster, which has been built hundreds of years ago. There's so much history. You go to the 16th century shambles. We walk along there. Now we often lose a lot of people on the walking tour there because there's so much to see and do on that little street. But we have the Vox headset, so that makes a big difference. That you're able to find your way. But the history of the cities, we go to Stratford, we go to Liverpool, we go to York. There's just so much history, and they're so iconic, and that really is a big appeal of this. But as well as that, you get to see the beautiful Welsh countryside, and we get to go through parts of the Cotswolds, and you really see the best of Britain, I would say, on
Yeah,
this tour.
perfect. And just the next slide here, this kind of gives you an overview of where we're going in the country. So starting in London, or starting in Cambridge, I think, and then New York, Liverpool, over to Wales, and then down into Stratford upon Avon. So it's June 8th to 19th, and 12 days, 11 nights, and that's right from Canada. And I think it's max 24 guests. So I know some groups will fill the bus, but we don't. I think that's a big difference.
Yeah, and it's always a larger coach as well. So it might be a 40 passenger or 35 passenger coach you're on. So there's plenty of room on board. So there's no issue with luggage.
Yeah, perfect. So we'll kind of, Jonathan, we're going to go through the itinerary just a little bit of day by day, just to give everybody a little taste of what they're going to see. So day one, we're first day where we arrive. So it's an overnight flight right from Halifax into London. And what can we expect on our first day?
Yeah, so we don't like to include too much on day one, as we know, new time zone, 4 hours ahead in the UK than the Maritimes.
Yeah.
So airport meet and greet by your driver and tour manager, and then we head straight up to Cambridge, which is about an hour north of the airport, and we'll do punting on the River Cam. For anyone who doesn't know what punting is, if you've ever been to Venice, going through the rivers there, it's basically a long boat you go on, and there's a bar on board, so you can have a Pimm's or a gin and tonic or something. So a really great introduction. The people on the left there are actually people on one of our tours last year, so they got a fabulous tour, and it's an amazing way to see the city. And rain or shine, and we do this. Sometimes it has been rained off if it's really bad, but in recent years, the weather is mostly good, and it's a great way to see Cambridge, one of England's heritage cities, and you get a little guided tour on this little boat. And then we stay very centrally in Cambridge, where we'll have a welcome dinner at our hotel and a chance to get out and explore. So a really nice kind of slower paced day to start the tour.
Excellent. So that leads us into day three, and we're in York. And some of the things that we're going to be doing there is that walking tour. So a little bit more detail that you can provide on the York stay.
Yeah, exactly. So you arrive into York, and we're met by guide Matthew, who's really an amazing guide. We've been working with him for over 10 years. No one knows York better than him. So generally, he'll start at one part of the walls. So the group will meet him there. He'll do a little section of the walls to give you an introduction to the walls. It's amazing walled city. So the next morning, if you're like to get out and walk, you can do a 5 kilometer full walk of the walls. So you really get in depth into the city. But he really goes more into the city. You see York Minster, you see the shambles, and he'll pick out a few signature points along the way. There's a big Viking history there, so anyone who's interested in your free time, Jorvik is a fabulous museum there. He'll tell you a lot about the Viking history, right through to more recent history as well. So really nice and a fabulous city. Probably my favorite city in England is York. So you spend 2 nights there, and the pubs in the evening are great as well. There's so many little great pubs and restaurants and so much history.
Perfect. And that leads us to day four, of course, and we're up into the Yorkshire Moors. What can you
Yeah,
tell us about
so
that this day?
so here you travel east from York. So about 2 hours away is the lovely seaside town of Whitby. So on a good day, you can see, as you can see there, this is another customer on one of our tours, getting lovely pictures of the blue sky. But we have fish and chips there. So it's a lovely seaside town, and there's an incredible abbey up the top, so you're able to walk up to that, and get a bit of that history too. But a very, very scenic day. And the way back to York, we always have a little surprise for guests. I don't want to tell you what that is now, but we go through a bit of the Yorkshire Moors. And when you're in the Yorkshire Moors, honestly, it's such barren landscape. You can't believe that you were just in York or Whitby 20 minutes before. You're kind of in the back of beyond. A lot of the British Army training happens in the moors, because real barren landscape. And then there's some lovely little, highlights along the way, which I'm not going to spoil here, but anyone doing the trip,
Perfect.
this is one of my favorite days on the tour.
Excellent. Then leads us into day 5 into Liverpool.
Yeah, so this is something we definitely improved this year on the tour. So we are spending 3 nights in Chester for a while, but now we do one night Liverpool and then two in Northern Wales in Llandudno, which makes a big difference. So Liverpool is an amazing city, and I felt like we were robbed by only going there on a day trip. So here we're met by guide Charlie Martin, who prides ourselves. So we like to use local guides wherever we can, Matthew in York. And then Charlie, when we're in Liverpool, she prides herself on being the only guide in the city with a master's in the Beatles. And
Oh,
she also
wow.
works for Liverpool Football Club. So no better person to bring you around. She brings us up to Strawberry Field for a tour and a traditional Scouse lunch, similar to like an Irish stew. It's a Liverpool stew.
Yep.
So and then we stay very centrally there. We'll go to Liverpool Cathedral, which is another highlight. And again, staying very centrally in Liverpool is wonderful, and there's so much history, especially related to the Beatles.
Yeah.
Also, it was the largest dock in the UK for many years, so really big ship
Please.
visit.
Wonderful. Actually, yeah, if you're a Beatles fan, this would be a stop that you'd want to make. Taking us then in day 6 into Wales, of course.
Yeah, so cross the border, and then we have two fabulous nights in Wales. And this day we'll do a lovely canal boat tour with afternoon tea. So it's like traveling back in time on the Thomas Telford Aqueduct. So you get on board and you get Prosecco and sandwiches, and you do this little hour and a half long trip on these canal boats. They don't look like much, but when you're inside, they're very cozy. It's always a wonderful experience and one of the highlights of the trip. And that same day, we also do a very scenic rail journey. So
Yeah.
a steam train. Now, if you want to get from A to B in Wales, we don't recommend taking a train. But if you want to see incredible scenery, the steam trains are a fabulous way to do it. So an
Perfect.
hour and a half on a steam train too to get to see some of the Dee Valley and the Welsh countryside.
Yeah. With that long name that you can't pronounce, right?
Yes, I'm not going to try pronounce it. So we always do a stop there's a rail station there and there's a little shop, so we always do a little
Yeah.
stop there. But it's something like it's how they used to describe places um before, signposts and things. So it's something along the lines of the church down by the hollow, down by the grey wall, or or something
Yeah.
really long like that. So
Yeah.
you see a lot
Exactly.
of that in Wales.
Yep. All right. Moving into day 7.
Yeah, so Snowdonia National Park, again, another highlight for many people. So very scenic day. So we'll stay in Llandudno, which is a lovely seaside town in North Wales. And then we'll travel south through Snowdonia National Park. You get to see Mount Snowdon. We don't have a specific itinerary for this day. We really let the driver and the tour manager decide which towns and which places to stop, and they'll do their routing based on what they think is the best based on the weather and traffic, etc. And then you're
Perfect.
really spoiled this evening with the Welsh male choir rehearsal. Now it doesn't sound like much, but they actually come into our hotel, and it's just a bunch of generally elderly men who are in a choir. And if you've ever heard any male Welsh choirs. They're absolutely incredible. So they basically just do their rehearsal. They do shows most weekends, and they'll play at church. They'll play in concerts and stuff. So they just do their rehearsal, and we sit in there for the first half of their rehearsal and get to listen to some of their songs. And they will take requests as well if you have any songs that you think they'll be able to sing. And last time I was there, they actually sang the Canadian national anthem for us, which was
Oh,
absolutely
wow.
incredible. Yeah.
That's excellent. And I do have a picture of that word.
Yes, there it is. The Church of
Yeah,
Mary in the hollow of the White Hazel near the fierce whirlpool and the Church of Tissilo by the Red Cave. So that's how
yeah,
they used to describe things back in the day.
yeah. Long one to try to pronounce. Um, Next, we're going to Stratford upon Avon,
Yeah.
and this is famous for what, Jonathan?
Yeah, for William Shakespeare, of
Yep,
course. And we get to go to Judith's Gin. Judith was his daughter, and then gin tour and tasting and we get to go to Shakespeare's schoolroom and the Guildhall. So the gin tour and tasting is in an old Shakespeare home, which is absolutely incredible. And we have a chance to really get in depth here. This is one of our groups. This is where they have their included dinner at the hotel. So again, very centrally located. Again, another improvement on this tour. We used to do a day trip from Stratford further south, but it used to be like 4 to 5 hours on the coach that day. Feedback was not enough time in Stratford. So we've
yep,
taken that out. We do a little half day tour of the Cotswolds, but you have a good full day to yourself to explore Stratford, and then a nice G&T at Judith's Gin is definitely a
yep.
highlight too.
And I think one of the things we don't talk about a lot about is the free time and how you can't have a good tour is not one where you're constantly on the go. You got to have some free time that they can explore on their own.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've definitely got better at that. We used to include try to include a lot in everywhere we went, but we just found when you're in somewhere like London or Edinburgh or Stratford or York, it's really nice to be able to explore. In Stratford, for example, there's some incredible bookshops, some, that are unchanged in 300 years. So it's really
Yep,
amazing just to be able to explore that history, get lost down a close or down a little cobbled street, and that's how you really get in depth, chat with the locals and really
yep.
enjoy these places.
Excellent. And that takes us to day 9 in the Cotswolds.
Yeah, so this is where you'll see all the lovely honeycomb houses, and again, the driver and the guide will decide which little towns and villages you stop in. But we do have an included pub lunch in a quaint village, which is always a highlight. And then you'll have a free evening to explore Stratford. So it's kind of nice when you're 2 nights in a city to have one night included. The first night we'll have done the walking tour. You'll kind of have a sense of what Stratford is all about. And then the second evening, when you get back, you'll have time to explore on your own.
Perfect. And day 10 into Oxford.
Yeah, again, another heritage city. We get a guided tour of Christchurch here and a lovely little walking tour of the city. Again, lots of free time here. There's lots of really great bookshops. If anyone's been to St. Andrews in Scotland, it would be very similar, or Cambridge is similar too. It's very much a university town, but again, so much history. You can go into little pubs that are 400 or 500 years old. And then we try get into London nice and early and have a free evening at our lovely five-star hotel in London. And then the next day we're going to have a full free day to explore. So you get in depth into London as well.
Perfect. And then into London. So London is a two night city center stay.
2 night stay, and we include the hop on, hop off. So choose your own adventure. Now we have found I've spoken to a few of our guides, and some guests, I want to do this and this, so they know. So
Yeah,
the guide is normally there that morning to help people because the hop on, hop off in London in particular is not the easiest to navigate.
yeah,
Once you're on it and once you're at the stop, very easy. But there's so many companies doing it, so the tour manager will speak to people and try help them guide them on their way. But then it is a free day, choose your own adventure. The
yeah,
hop on, hop off, I always recommend if you've never been to London to do the full tour. It's about 2 hours.
yep.
And then on the second way around, stop at a few places you'd like to stop. Or if you know there's a specific place you want to go, like Buckingham Palace or Westminster, you get off at that stop and then they're every 15 minutes. So you just hop on at the stop you get off is where you get back on.
And
So really nice.
London is such a walkable city too. I mean, it's easy to get around from Buckingham Palace to the London Eye. Those, within 20 minutes you're there. So it's very easy to get around.
Exactly. And then Chris in the left there, he's one of our tour managers. So on the first night, the free evening, he often brings people on a little walking tour and brings them to a nice pub he knows. So people who aren't sure what they want to do, the tour manager is there to help you along the way. He said a lot of people, first timers, they're a little hesitant about taking the tube.
Yep.
which is the London Underground. But once they figure it out, similar if you've ever been to New York, it can be a bit
Yep.
daunting at the start, but it really is fabulous if there's something specific you want to get, and you're never further than 3 or 4 minutes from a tube station when you're in London.
Yeah, and it's so easy. That's what one of the things we like doing is taking people on the tube just to get them to experience it. And so easy now with your credit card just to tap in and tap out. You don't have to
Yeah.
go buy a pass or anything like that. Just use your credit card, you tap in, but make sure you tap out, getting off the tube.
Yeah, exactly. They used to have the Oyster card, which
Yep.
when they had that, it was like revolutionary. They were well ahead of their time. But now with credit cards, yeah, make sure you use the same credit card to tap in and tap out, otherwise you're charged twice.
Exactly. And finally, we got the farewell for now. So, um, on day 12, this is our airport transfer, and we're heading home.
Yeah, exactly. Generally an early transfer to the airport, or if people are doing an onward journey, that's possible too. But
Yep.
yeah, farewell for now from England and Wales, but a really fabulous itinerary. And then yeah, in terms of weather, I mean, more recently in June, we've been getting into the 20s to 25, but average temperatures would be, 15 to 20 during the day, and it can get down to 10, 15 by night. So we always recommend layers, always bring a light anorak,
Yep.
um, comfortable shoes for touring as well. It is a, 4-star hotels mostly with some 5 stars, but there's no fine dining or anything. You can just wear casual clothes, similar to what John and I are wearing currently, is
Yep.
is kind of what people would wear. You are using the pound sterling when you're there, so the exchange rate's about 185 to the Canadian dollar. And then average cost for lunch and dinners not included, you're looking at 10, 15 pounds for lunch, 25 to 30 pounds for dinner, and maybe 5 to 7 pounds for a nice tipple of whiskey or a gin and tonic or a nice
Yep.
local beer. And again, you're never too long on the coach each day. It is a slower paced tour. So 3 to 4 hours kind of max in any one day, a little longer maybe on the Yorkshire Moors day. But that's a very scenic day, as well as Snowdonia, a bit more time on the coach that day too. But lots of nice stops, never longer than an hour, hour and a half without making a stop for some sort of sightseeing or a comfort break.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Jonathan. I really appreciate your insights into this great tour, England and Wales, that we're coming up in June. If anybody is interested in finding out more, please give us a call to book at 877-214-5367. Lynn and I are here to help you make your way onto this great journey. So, Jonathan, thank you again for your insights. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to taking a group to England and Wales in June of 27.
Thanks, everyone. See you in England and Wales soon.